Standard 5 stars are sadly unavoidable. Whether you lose your 50-50 to 1 on the limited banner or simply get a standard 5 star on, well, the standard banner? I know, surprise surprise, who would have thought? I already made this video before, but since then Enjoyy has been introduced and 2 more standards being Dea and Tighnari. Before we get into the video though, I am trying to hit 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and would really appreciate it if you left a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much. This list is going to go from strongest to weakest, and who knows, maybe your 50-50 loss will feel less like a loss if you lose to Jean. And all I have to say is, look at her character select animation. Standing there with so much pride and grace, which is very well deserving to be number 1 on my list. Jean is a very versatile unit, and I think honestly she gets slept on with the amount of healers that we've got since the start of the game. Jean is also able to provide a very large amount of burst damage alongside that burst healing, which pairs astronomically well with our Hydro Archon Farina. Jean's healing is based on attack, so you don't have to worry about any nasty split scalings, and she can also make the use of 4-piece Viridescence so that she can swirl the elements to shred resistance, allowing her to fill up multiple roles for your team. And to be honest, even her choice of weapon doesn't matter much, though of course steer towards one with high attack or ER substats. Personally, I prefer using Favonia's sword, though between me and you, I do want to get a Jade Cutter for my Jean in the future. Not to mention, after you lose to her C4, your Jean will shred a huge 40% Anemo resistance, which is nice to use with your Anemo carries such as Wanderer and Zhao, even with Farazan, as she can help free up Bennett for your other Abyss team and provide the Anemo team even more energy. Oh, and not to forget, you can use Jean to abuse full damage at earlier ARs to clear content. As seen in the gameplay, my Jean was doing up to 30k from full damage. So what are you waiting for? Build your Jean. Next on the list we have Tighnari. Now my Tighnari isn't built as I only just recently got him, so I stole some stuff for his gameplay. Due to how broken Enjoyy is though, pairing him with Fischl to proc aggravate and probably a shielder so you don't get interrupted, you will find yourself with a very solid DPS. Tighnari is easy to build as he can use a plethora of artifact sets with 2-piece EM, Enjoyy bonus, or the new 2-piece charge attack bonus to get him on his feet quickly. He also makes good use of both standard 5-star bows and the craftable Sumeru bow, making him a very accessible, free-to-play friendly character to build for some quick and easy power. On top of this, due to being a newer 5-star, if you find yourself losing to him multiple times, his constellations are actually very strong for a standard 5-star, allowing him to be the 2nd strongest in my eyes. Next up on the list we have Keqing, who is personally my favourite standard 5-star, and I am so happy Enjoyy provided the necessary buff to make playing her feel more rewarding. Keqing is an electro DPS who can be used to make great use of aggravate and hyper bloom to ramp up her power from when I last ranked her. She is also very flexible to use, making use of 2-piece attack sets, 2-piece EM and 2-piece electro damage bonus sets. I would recommend you craft her an Iron Sting as the EM helps with aggravate and hyper bloom, but also other weapons like the Gacha Lion's Roar is pretty good on her too. Keqing's greatest strength is that her rotations are very flexible, allowing you to stay on field for short amounts of time to cycle through your buffs and play quick swap teams, and you don't even need to worry about messing up your rotations, which makes her extremely easy and extremely fun to play. You just go burst animation after burst animation after burst animation. I don't think Mona's astrology could have seen her being knocked down to number 4 on my list, as she was previously number 1 on my list. It's not to say Mona is a bad character, just as we have gotten more buffers throughout the years, Mona's debuff has become less valuable over time, especially the more characters you end up pulling to support other hyper carries. You'll end up not really having a use for Mona, so now she is mainly just used for nukes, which is why mine is permanently on a nuke build, to be honest. Mona used to be a staple of the meta back when Morgana, Ganyu, Mona Venti and another Cryo was the most effective at clearing all the content in Abyss, but nowadays, due to being replaced by Kokomi and Freeze, who has way better Hydro application, or Farina, who gives you a nice damage bonus, and you compare her with a, what's that? a Jean holding VV to still have that cryo red shred on your team. If you want to build Mona though, for nukes, I would level up her burst talent as much as possible and put her on 4-piece Noblesse or 4-piece Instructors set with a R5 Thrilling Tales, which is the 3-star book, and then with her constellations 1, 3 and 4 being very useful for hitting nukes as well. Next on the list we have Dea. I sadly can't provide any gameplay as I still don't have her yet. Please Mihoyo, just give me a Dea. Oh, and hashtag buff Dea for all the Dea stands watching this right now. I am one of you, don't worry. Dea's damage isn't that great compared to other pyro DPS, with her at C0 being riddled with energy problems. On top of that, but what puts her above Diluc in my eyes is that you can also use her as a defensive option and provide resistance to interruption in teams like Melt Garnu or Mono Pyro Linny. Sure, she isn't a best in swap option, but she can be a decent substitute for Zhongli, not to mention that our constellations are quite good by helping her DPS greatly. And when you have invested into her, it is good to use 4-piece, oh god, what's it called again? 4-piece Emblem. There we go, so you can get that extra energy and burst damage, and if you want her to be tankier, use 2-piece HP sets with, well, all HP subsets. Whoa, who would have funkin'? One of her best and easier accessible options would be a Favonius Greatsword. Sadly, Diluc has fallen from being the best DPS in the game at Genshin's launch to considerably the second worst standard banner character to lose your 50/50s to. Diluc is a pyro DPS who is outshone by literally all the other pyro DPS and well, most DPS in any other element really. Not to say you can't clear with Diluc these days, I just don't think he is a good option to invest into. His later constellations are quite good to be honest, but by the time you have that C6 Diluc, you would have so many other DPS you could invest into who would perform better, and standard banner constellations are never guaranteed. If you want to build your Diluc, it is recommended you use 4-piece Crimson on him, which isn't really a resin efficient domain since Lava Walker is basically a dead set. And for weapon options, you can craft the prototype Archaic, use Surf and Spine from the battle pass, or just use his signature weapon Wolf's Greystone, which you'll get from the standard banner eventually, maybe, someday. I actually still don't have one yet somehow. What the hell? Last on the list we have the dreaded Chi-Chi, the one character everyone loses it over when they get her instead of the limited 5-star they actually wanted, to the point there is a video of 1 million views about someone singing about sadly pulling a Chi-Chi. Now I know, crazy. Chi-Chi is a healer and, well, that's it really. Not only is she outclassed by Jean, who is also a standard for reasons mentioned earlier, she is outclassed by so many 4-stars and she doesn't synergize with any teams, given she provides no buffs or debuffs and has bad cryo particle generation and cryo application. She has some of the worst constellations in the game, with a C6 which is just a revive, and Barbara's C6 which is a 4-star is also the exact same. When I get a C6 Chi-Chi, I hope she will be able to revive my will to live, because that's 7 losses to Chi-Chi. That is gonna be painful to stomach. And on top of that, if your C6 Chi-Chi does make it to Abyss, if you manage to die with a C6 5-star healer, then I think honestly you're doing something very wrong. And on top of that, even if you did die, you could just restart the chamber anyway. Like, the revive isn't really that useful in all honesty. Maybe if Genshin had a roguelike game mode where you could just keep going for better rewards, and well, if you restart, you have to restart from scratch, then the C6 would be very valuable. However, as of right now, it's pretty much useless. If you want to build your Chi-Chi, I would say put her on 4-piece Ocean Hued Clam, like, you know, the 4-piece Kokomi set, and use a sacrificial sword, because oh my days, her E cooldown is horrendous, or a sword with high base attack. With that being said, this is going to be the end of the video. Let me know who your favorite 5-star standard character is in the comment section down below. Jolted out. Nyum.